Hello, lovely beings. I'm JJ Rose. For any of you that are new to me, or any of you who have not read the description, I would like to let you know that I do spiritually protect all of my audios and videos. This means that in listening to this content, you are not drawing anything negative to you or within your space. You are able to listen to this knowing that nothing negative is going to be drawn to you as a result. You are simply listening to this in order to get the content, to learn and grow, but in a very safe space. Now, I would just like to explain a few things before I get into the meat of this subject. The first is, if you're used to my voice sounding a certain way and you think, she sounds a little different, well, there's a story behind that. I have actually been working the last 7 days on creating this episode. Normally these episodes don't take me super long. It's just a matter of finding time and when I get the proper information from Spirit in order to convey it. That being said, 7 days ago I sat down in order to record. When I record, I have everything on silent around me. I record in the same space every single time. There's nothing different. And as I do all the normal things to mute everything, to make sure that there's going to be no distractions in the middle of recording, I was stopped over 30 times. I had to keep pausing, stopping. My cell phone, which is always on silent, magically on its own without being touched, started ringing and then giving crazy notifications. The computer itself started pinging crazy notifications, even though I had it very clearly on mute. Another device in my home started going off nonsensically, which doesn't even make any sense because I had it not only on mute but also off. Then I had a marching band start up right in front of my home. Very interesting and incredible timing, I might add. Then I had a whole bunch of birds start basically screeching and coming up to my window, which they do not normally do. I left plenty of food outside for them. So that was also very, very strange. Anyway, all these strange things kept happening, and every time I've had to pause because of this ridiculousness, I would lose my train of thought. My mind would start to go blank. I'd have to figure out where I left off. And being somewhat tech savvy, I'm not incredibly tech savvy to just start, being able to re-listen to things and re-input the audio. So I decided after 20 minutes of this nonsense, I was going to stop the audio. I will basically use it for myself. I will just play it back, take some notes from it, write everything down, make it nice and cohesive, and then go ahead and give this another go. So I had it scheduled for a day or two later, and then basically anything and everything that could usurp my time or my free energy did. So for the last 7 days, it has been a literal-ish show. And I'm sure you know the word that I mean, but I'm trying not to swear. So besides all these really, really weird and random things happening in my personal life that were completely out of left field, not planned, all sorts of things happening to distract me and to keep me from doing this. This, of course, is always on the back of my mind. This is my passion. The information for this episode came through so clear, so loud, that it was one of those I could barely grab a pen in time. So I literally just had to start taking notes on my cell until I was able to go grab a pen. It was one of those moments, like the information was so fast, so quick, in and out, that if I didn't write it down with both hands, I literally was typing on my phone on one and writing on a piece of paper with another hand as this information was streaming through. Being that information normally doesn't come through that quickly and that absurdly, I knew that I needed to record this. So, okay, I have been working on recording this I'm on my 6th hour as of now. This is my 3rd try. So I basically sat down 6 hours ago and I was all ready to play my 20-minute episode that I had pretty much recorded for me at this point, just to get the notes and make sure that I had kind of the track that I wanted to go on. And as I go to play that audio, my media player says there's no audio. There's nothing to play. Okay, that's weird. I open up, the properties of it. I look, there's very clearly something recorded on there. There's very clearly storage space that has been taken up. And so I'm thinking, okay, that's odd, but technology being what it is, let's try another media player. And I do. And the same thing happens. It basically tells me that there's nothing recorded. So therefore, there's nothing to play. It didn't say the file was corrupt. It didn't say the media, on this cannot be supported or played. It straight up said there was nothing recorded, when it very, very clearly shows that there's something recorded. So I took a picture of the screen, I sent it to a friend who knows about this stuff, and they said with as much data as on that file, that should be like an hour of recording. That doesn't even make sense. And I said, no, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. So then I go to email the file to myself, thinking, okay, well, maybe let me play it on my phone. Maybe it has better media players, and then the email won't go. So at this point, I'm now irritated, and I said, that's fine. All right, fine. I will just start recording from scratch. And then everything went absolutely bananas for about 2.5 hours straight. It was nonstop, one thing after another. I was on the phone with a couple people. There were some other things going on. So finally I get all that cleared out of the way. Okay, it's me time again. We're going to go back. We're going to record this. Let's do that. And my voice goes out. Yay for that. So at this point, I'm thinking, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to grab some tea, a little bit of honey. It's fine. I can make this through. I can make this work. And so I get that. I come back to the computer and I'm all ready to record. And my hands are nowhere near the keyboard. The computer's plugged in. All the things are right. And without me touching absolutely anything, the computer literally shuts itself off. Great. Absolutely wonderful, right? That's joyous. So at this point, I decided I'm going to just take a knee. I'm going to go take a nap. I'm going to pray on this. I'm going to clear myself, clear the house, make sure everything's protected, because obviously something does not want me talking about what I'm going to be talking about. Why would the enemy want me giving out its playlist and how it works? Yeah, interesting. The reason I bring all this up is because it's extremely important for me to convey to all of you that this is a way that the adversary or evil can work in order to prevent you from doing something good. And although it doesn't happen all the time, it has happened to me. I know that it's happened to other people as well, not only with technology, with other things too, where you keep getting these roadblocks. And sometimes those roadblocks are from your own spirit team. There have been times when I'm all gung-ho, I am going to record an episode on something, I've got the info, I'm super stoked about it, and it gets time to record, and I'm just told no, or my mind goes blank, or, something gets in the way. And usually I'll check and I'll ask and I'll just hear it's not the right time. And that's okay. I understand that. There are times when it isn't the right time. Sometimes I'm given the gift where I'm shown afterwards why it wasn't the right time. And then there are other times when no clue, I'm just going with it. But I'm usually able to tune in and find out if it is positive or negative, holding me back. And I think you all know the answer as to what today's debacle and the past week's debacle has been about. This has definitely not been positive, telling me to hang in there and hold on. So if my voice is a little scratchy and if I have a hard time, you have a hard time hearing what I'm saying or listening to me, I apologize. Please just be here for the message. I promise you that really is what I'm all about, is just the message. This again is why I don't have my face plastered all over everything, because it's not about me, it's about the message. And however that message can be conveyed, great. I will have the poignant parts in the description if you need to read those, if for whatever reason you're having a hard time understanding me. I realize I am talking a lot faster than I normally do. I think it's also because I'm a little worked up because of all this, so I feel like I got to get all of this recorded now before something goes awry. But I banish that thought because everything's going to go great from here on out. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. The biggest question I'm sure all of you and your children have asked is why? Why does evil exist? Well, here's the reason why. Evil exists because on this plane, on our level, on this planet in particular, evil is necessary for the forward progress and growth of humankind. Yes, you heard that. If you have only experienced sunny days, you don't truly appreciate them because you don't know any different. So it kind of loses its luster until you have a season of rain or a couple days of rain, and then all of a sudden you really miss that sunshine. Just like when everything is nice and warm, you kind of gripe about how warm it is and until you get some really cold snaps, and then all of a sudden you really miss that warmth again. So it's all about balance, right? You need light and dark. Darkness needs light, light needs dark on our level, on our plane. There are different levels and planes in which evil does not exist, the dark does not exist, and that is simply because it's not needed. But on our level, it is, in order to help advance us, in order to stimulate growth, in order to understand and appreciate what light is, and also for a lot of lessons and to burn off a lot of karma. So, yes, it is necessary, it does exist, and that is why. Okay, now for the big one. How does evil work? The primary components of evil and how it works: it corrupts, it pollutes, it stops forward progress, much like how it stopped me recording this episode for 7 days. Can you tell I'm bitter? I'm really bitter about it. I'm so sorry. It steals. It is calculated in its manipulations. It's surreptitious. It's sneaky. It causes paranoia and subtle thoughts that aren't yours. It causes motivations for people to want to do things and somehow makes them feel justified and makes it okay for them to do things that aren't right, that are morally corrupt. It urges people to do things that aren't right and also morally corrupt. And it also is provocative, right? There's a real good campaign by some people who definitely believe in evil, and that work for evil, of making things that when you take a giant step back, no, that doesn't make any sense. That's definitely not right. But they sure do make it sound good, don't they? So I have ended up finding a show, and the actual show is called Evil, by the way. And at first I didn't want to watch it just based on the name alone, right? I am very, very picky on what I let into my subconscious and what I watch on TV. I'm also very sensitive, so so as a result of being that sensitive, I don't do gore. I don't do a lot of horror movies and scary stuff. I can do psychological thrillers for whatever reason, but like horror and gore, that just gets me, and it's too much. It's overwhelming for me, and I feel far too much for me to be able to watch senseless killing and people being hurt. I don't understand it, and it hurts me on a deeper level, so I avoid it. That being said, when this show came up, something made me want to watch the trailer for it. And that's very unusual for me because, like I said, I normally avoid things like this. And I watched the trailer and I thought, okay, I get where they're going with this, and I definitely want to give it a shot. There are 3 seasons. I know it was available on Netflix. I know it's on Paramount Plus. I really have to thank them. It was originally on CBS, but now it's streaming on Paramount Plus. I personally see why they did that in order to take it to streaming from network TV, especially seasons 2 and 3, because it does get a little graphic and there are some swear words in it that wouldn't work for mainstream television. That being said, season 1 of the show Evil is probably the best example I am able to give you of something that you can watch, something that is visual, that is played out, that is the most real of how it works. Obviously, there's some Hollywood in there, don't get me wrong. But one thing that the writers have done that I am so appreciative of is the dark, gnarly things, the things that start with the letter D. Those guys, when they show up in the show, they give them normal names like George or Bob instead of calling them what their real names are. And huge shout out and appreciation to them for doing that. It's really subtle. Most people probably laugh at it, but there's a huge reason behind that. And the reason is because you don't want to call those things forth. And that was one of the issues I had, particular with the Conjuring movies, which I love because I really love the story and getting the information out there. But the fact that they would actually use the things' names very much frightened me, that they were calling this forth for other people, especially younger people who watch these things and they're fascinated and then they're talking about it. And a lot of times people don't realize what you're saying can draw things to you. And that is why I go the extra mile to protect my audios in particular, because I don't want to put anything out in the world that is going to draw negativity towards you. I am all about light, love, growth, positivity. But I feel that everyone should have free and fair access to this information without having to be worried about, oh my God, if I listen to this, my house is going to get whatever infestations or oppressed. And absolutely not. I don't stand for that. So hopefully that comes forth and comes through. But back to the show Evil. The synopsis of the show is there's a man who is trying to be a priest. He works for the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church hires 2 skeptics in order to work with him. One is his thing is technology. The other one, she's a psychologist. And she's an atheist. The other one is kind of an atheist as well, with the priest, who is an avid believer. And they basically go out to different things that the church is asked to investigate, albeit possessions, miracles, demonic activity, etc. And they're able to debunk it or not. But there's a storyline that weaves through, particularly all 3 seasons, but especially in the first season, that it's so subtle and it's so succinct and it's so surreptitious, but it is the best visual interpretation that I have ever seen. And obviously I haven't seen everything, but that I have personally come across as to how evil works, how it works through humans, how it just causes little motivations here and there, how it urges people, how it makes things seem okay in order to do them, even though you very well know that it is wrong to do. And it's so good. I recommend, if you can, please watch it. Even if it's just season 1. If you're like me, you want to just dig into the whole thing. So I've watched all 3 seasons, but it really is worth it. And again, to those writers, I can't thank them enough for naming things differently. They get the message across, but they do it in a way that isn't calling anything negative forth. And it also isn't super scary. There are definitely a couple jump scare moments in there, but it's not scary to the point where, I was home alone watching it at nighttime, we'll put it that way. So, well, I also don't scare too easy. So I don't know if I'm the best example, but yeah, watch it during the daytime. But it's not super scary that I would say, warn people about it. Okay, enough with me rambling about how much I love that show. But I do love the show, and thank you so much. All right, I'm going to tell you a couple stories that have actually, one happened to me, the other one happened in front of me. So there was a person A I had been working with, and they had just made a humongous breakthrough on something that they had been working with for a very long while to overcome. And they had had this huge breakthrough, and we were so excited, and kind of decided just to do like a little celebration with a fire and a release ceremony, just to kind of really fully get it all the way out, right? And that's release ceremonies usually are where you have a fire and you can write it down, or you can just energetically give it to the fire to burn it up in order to change and cleanse and clear the energy, in order to use the energy for good, for whatever the issue is that you're giving up. So person A and I are hanging out, and we're got the little fire going, and we're just enjoying the fact and feeling so lighthearted about this major revelation in their life that's totally going to transform them. And out of nowhere, person B shows up. A person B was not invited, but person B just showed up on their own. And as person A is there and they're still in their happy place, oh, you know, person B's here. And I'm already knowing person B does not have good intentions, but I'm non-judgmental. I'm just going to sit back and see how person A does, being that person B is around and tends to do some pretty surreptitious, sneaky, corrupt, polluting, stopping forward momentum progress things. So as person A is standing at the fire, and you can tell they're energetically releasing even more. They're definitely embracing the light back from this major revelation. Person B comes up behind person A and touches their back, and then does this weird sigil movement on their back. Now, from where I was sitting, it just looked to me like they just kind of patted the person on the back and were behind them. But it was really odd. Like, there's all this space. Why would you go up behind this person? It didn't even make sense. Like, very weird and almost inappropriate. And person A is sitting there, and they're standing there. And all of a sudden, their face totally distorts. And they turn around to person B and they go, "What did you just put on me? Take it off." And person B acts all, "Oh, my stars," like, "Oh, I didn't do anything." And person A looks at them and says, "I know what you put on me. Take it back." And so person B kind of hangs their head and kind of pouts and walks over. And so person A looks at me and kind of nods like, "Please light blast that off of me." So I came over and I removed it and I threw it into the fire and got rid of it, and start, putting light around person B. And it was very interesting because person A had never seen until that point how evil person B really was and what their intentions were. And that every time person A would start to make some progress and some forward movement in their life, person B would randomly show up and just do everything it could to throw the car in reverse and back it off a cliff. So it was really, really interesting just to see from a third party standpoint that happen. But it was almost, again, in this situation, without a lot of context, person B is someone who has chosen the darker side. They have chosen that path. Again, no judgment. I'm not necessarily going to invite them to my birthday party, but that's their choice. I won't necessarily choose to have them around, but sometimes they come around when person A is around. Now, that being said, person A knows a bit about person B's choices, but it wasn't until that moment when person A had this revelation and had really opened up and really embraced the light and had this major breakthrough and was feeling good, that they recognized how person B was right there out of nowhere to corrupt and pollute and stop their forward progress. So, this being said, there are people in the world who may have chosen a dark path and they don't even know it. But they do it because they're constantly negative, they're constantly judgmental, they're very harsh, they are just a negative force, and they do not want to be broken of that. They want to stay in their negative bubble. They might even preach to you, but all of the preaching is done through hate and negativity and divisiveness, and it is corrupting and polluting the real word of God or the real spirit of the light. And if you know anyone in your life who is like that, then understand their energy, understand and make a conscientious choice if you want to have them around. I do not recommend to anyone to bait or to play with people who have consciously made a choice to work for the darkness, with the darkness, or remain in that negative bubble. Obviously, if someone needs help, you want to be there to help them. If someone's just having a hard time, we're talking about a person who has made a lifetime choice to be negative and wants absolutely nothing to do with growing, healing, or moving forward in their life. They want to be stuck. They like their little hill and they are willing to die on it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is be aware of who you allow into your life and who you allow into your energetic bubble. Because being close friends with people, having constant communication with people, if they are negative or if they are with the darkness, that can rub off on you, especially if you're an empath and especially if you're a person of the light who's really kind-hearted. And I know the audio that I did before this talked a bit about that, but I really want this to sink in because there are a lot of you who have wonderful hearts and you want to help everyone and you're extremely kind, but there are some people who don't want help. The only thing they want to do is they'll ask for your help, but all they want to do is stop you from progressing forward. And sometimes they know that's their motivation, and sometimes they don't because they're being led by something darker. And darkness is a deceiver, and it is very good at deceiving at times to make people think that they're absolutely in the right. When you take a giant step back and really look at what they're doing and how they're acting, you can pretty well see that's not of the light. That doesn't reflect goodness and godliness in any way, shape, or form. All that's doing is being divisive or ugly or hateful and all the other nasty words that go with that. Okay, so on to my next situation that has happened to me. This one has actually happened to me more than a few times. And I've seen that it has happened when I meet someone who is a fellow light worker, and typically a fellow light worker that we're going to do some pretty heavy work, albeit together or even separately. So there's this one situation with someone I had met, and I knew instantly this person was a light worker. We were going to work together. We were kind of instant friends type of situation. And so it had been a time or two that we had hung out and done some training lessons, things like that together, just to kind of see where they were at and, what things they needed to be refreshed on because it had been a while for them. And so we're sitting around, we're just having a very mundane, moment. We're just being two humans having a conversation about life, getting to know each other. And all of a sudden, I get super paranoid about this person. And I'm not a paranoid person. I'm very, very reality based and very logical, right? And so I start getting all these weird paranoid thoughts. Like this person was intentionally sent to me in order to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm checking myself in my head. I'm like, girl, stop being crazy. Like, this is ridiculous. You're not that special. It's not that big of a deal. What are you doing? And then all of a sudden, when I push that thought out and I cleanse and I clear it, banish that thought, and then I start to look at the person and, they look how they look, and all of a sudden their face starts to distort. And as I'm looking at them, their face turns very gnarly and very ugly and very dark. And I'm looking at them, and I guess it was my turn to speak, and apparently I was not speaking because I'm just staring at them with this crazy look. And the other person actually spoke up first, and they said, I look really, really ugly and gross to you right now, don't I? And I said, yeah, how'd you know? And they said, because your face changed and did the same thing. And I'm like, well, I'm streaming in the light right now. I don't understand this. And they said, let me guess, you just got super duper paranoid about me, didn't you? Because I'm all of a sudden getting all these weird paranoid thoughts about you that don't even make any sense. And so we both started laughing. We did a great big light blast on each other, and immediately it went away and it was dispelled. And so we started talking about it. And this is the first time that I had had this happen where I can actually talk to the other person about it. People that it had happened to in the past weren't at the level that I could have that conversation safely with them. I think it would have freaked them out a little bit when it happened. So with this person, we basically start having the conversation about the thoughts that we were having, how this weird paranoia came in, and neither of us are paranoid people. We're very, very grounded people, very logical, and that neither of us could understand where this paranoia was suddenly coming from. And then when we realized, oh, the paranoia is just something dark trying to infiltrate in order to get us not to talk and to stop working with each other. And when we ruled that out and we cleansed and cleared that, all of a sudden it started doing visual to both of us. It was oppressing both of us so that visually when we were looking at each other, we would look dark, evil, and scary to one another when neither of us are dark, evil, and scary looking. And once we both called it out and then we cleansed and cleared it. And I'm going to tell you, I did an extra special light bomb on this person because, yeah, okay, what if they're just super duper psychic and, they're playing me, right? Because, well, that's part of the paranoia, I guess, that went in there. And so, with what I threw out them, if there was anything negative within them, they probably would have fallen over. That's how hard I was throwing stuff at them. And they were throwing it at me, and I felt it, and I'm grateful for it. I am grateful when another light worker will throw light at me to cleanse and clear me, even if it's just a check of like, hey, are you really who you say you are, type of thing. I'm grateful for that because if you're of the light, when someone throws light at you, it feels nice, right? But also, I think it's a good way for you to learn how to trust yourself, to throw light at somebody else, to make sure that they really are on the up and up. Because there are shady people out there. There are people who are working for the darkness, and they are sneaky, and they know just what to say, and they can pretend, and some of them are leaders of churches, and some of them are out there in the world preaching that they are godly and of all different positive religions, and they're saying the exact opposite. They are corrupting the word of God. They are polluting the exact thing that is so beautiful that they are supposed to be representing. And that's why I'm asking all of you, when you listen to all of this, keep this in mind when you're watching politicians, when you're watching, the news, when you're watching shows, when you're watching people interact in life, when you're watching people within your own life. Start watching and seeing, are these people true blue? Is everything that they're telling me on the up and up? Or is this propaganda to further corrupt and pollute and stop forward progress and movement and momentum? Is this designed to, motivate people to do awful, ugly things all in the name of something good? Let's face it, there was an Inquisition. It happened. There were hundreds of thousands of people who lost their lives all in the name of God. Right? Do you really think that was on the up and up, or do you think that was a power play? And I'm not calling out any church in particular because, trust me, everyone thinks it was one church, but there are more than a few churches that were involved in the Inquisition and with the different witch hangings and burnings and drownings and all the awful things that they did to just people who were medicine people within their tribes in order for land grabs and power grabs. And people accusing each other of being things that they weren't in order just to come up off of them. So keep those things in mind. And, we live in a time right now where we are constantly being bombarded with an absolute ridiculous amount of propaganda on both sides. And that is why it's so important that you, as an individual, take the time to step back and really make sure that you understand what it is that you are being taught or told or believing in and going wholeheartedly with. And this goes in all facets of your life, everything. If it is not for the good, if it is not in order to keep forward movement going and to keep everyone safe and healthy and happy, if it is not following what your moral code dictates, then you might need to check what it is exactly that you are listening to or hearing or going along with. Now, obviously, I started this episode by telling you all the things that were trying to prevent me from actually recording this. And I do bring those up for good reason, because there are times, especially right now, the veil is thin, and there are a lot more spirits that are able to traverse over onto our plane than normal. So a lot of you might be getting a lot of visitations. A lot of you might be having some really interesting dreams and wonderful experiences. And for all the good ones, I am so excited for all of you. Happy waking up, happy learning new talents, happy learning new gifts that you're imbibed with. And even if it happens just one time for you and it's a positive experience, I'm so excited for you. But there are also some of you who maybe haven't fully mastered spiritual protection. I do have an audio on that. If you need to go back and listen to it, please do. With everything, if you guys have questions, please reach out to me. That's why I have my email on every single episode description. I have no issues whatsoever emailing y'all back and giving you guys information in order to teach and empower yourselves. The only time I charge is if I have to physically get involved and do an energy exchange on something. And even then, I'm very picky on what I actually will get involved with. Most of the time, I'm emailing you guys back and I'm giving you other resources to study so that you guys can learn how to do it yourself. Again, that is part of my main staple. I'd rather teach you guys how to fish versus just feed you dinner every night, right? Like, this is all about teaching you these things so that you can self-empower and that you could take your personal power back and that you can do this stuff on your own. So if you're having a situation, even if it's, hey, this has been happening to me, like, can you let me know, is this something to be concerned about, or etc. I love those emails because sometimes I get really excited, like, hey, there's nothing bad there whatsoever. You're just developing a new skill. And then once in a while, people will send me, stuff that's a little rougher going on with them. And again, I will try to give you steps that you can do on your own so that you can work on it. Please don't be shy. Email me. This is what I'm here for. This is what, I consider my volunteer hours to do. I love doing this. I love giving people tools and resources for free, right? Again, the only time I charge is if I really have to intervene and do like some major energy work or some clearing or something like that. And that is also because it helps me in the aspect of making sure I'm not putting out all this energy to clear something when someone's just going to call it right back in. Because let's face it, sometimes when people get something for free, they don't take it as serious as when they have to pay for it. So that's the only reason on that. And even then, I'm not charging extraordinary prices. But that being said, please email me if you have questions. I'm here for it. You're not wasting my time. You're not bugging me. You're not annoying me. I've had people think like, oh, this is a dumb question. There are no dumb questions, okay? When it comes to this and the times that we are living in right now, you guys, there are no dumb questions. Even if you think it's dumb and silly and stupid, I might say, hey, I answered that in this episode around here, go back and listen to it. But that doesn't mean that I'm demeaning you in asking the question. I would much rather have you ask the same question 10 times and get the answer so that you really understand it from a place. I'm not trying to charge you a whole bunch of money. I'm not leading you astray. As you can tell, I don't even ask you guys to like and subscribe to anything because I don't care about that. It's just about getting the message out there and truth. Okay, this is honestly what I'm about. I'm not selling myself in any way. If you never listen to any of my other audios, that's absolutely fine. Doesn't matter to me. If this is the only one that you're here for, welcome for this time. I'm glad I had this moment with you. Thank you so incredibly much, all of you who have been supporting me. For those of you who have sent me emails and told me your personal experiences when we've had a little exchange and you guys have gotten back to me and told me positive things that have happened. After I gave you some tips, I just want you to know y'all warm my heart so much. I've had a couple of you who have sent me things that I've cried. I'm getting all emotional again. That's wonderful. I'm gonna lose my voice more, but truly and honestly, I absolutely adore those moments. When there were two of you who sent me these major breakthroughs that you guys had, and I sat here and I cried tears of joy for you guys, because knowing that even if I impact one person in this planet, that I've done my job, and being able to experience it back and knowing that you guys have actually, made some positive for yourself and made a breakthrough. That gives me so much joy. Even though I don't know you guys personally, it doesn't matter. But thank you guys so much for your love and support. And thank you to Eric from the Uncomfortable Podcast. I know a lot of you found me from him. I got an Instagram today, so it is JJRose777 on Instagram. And if you all want to hit me up on there, that's fine. I really don't know how to use it that well, so please don't blame me if I'm not posting a lot, but at least it's another resource. I'm also on Facebook as well. But seriously, you guys, happy spooky season. I'm wishing you all love, light, and may your light shine as bright as it possibly can through the darkness.